Good evening, fellow patriots. My name is Chris Thornton. I'm a South Tyneside organiser up here in the north east of England. With me tonight is Peter Foreman. Peter Foreman was our parliamentary candidate for the Middlesbrough by-elections that was just gone by. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Chris.
I'll quickly run on the Rotherham by-election, which we did plough quite a bit of money into, as opposed to our Middlesbrough one.
Yeah.
Now Rotherham, we did quite well in, didn't we?
Yeah, she did great. The reason is not just because of our policies, but the lady in question is a local girl. Mm-hmm. She's already a councillor, so she had plenty of background. Everybody knew her, so it was a great start. I mean, you just can't buy that kind of advertising. So yeah, she did great. I mean, coming third was an absolute triumph for us.
When you say can't buy, you can actually get it, because UKIP did buy the vote by the amount of money and resources that they put into.
Yes, that's true. But at this moment in time, when I think about the kind of money that it would take, as far as I'm concerned, this party cannot buy what she had, because we haven't got those kind of resources. We haven't got millionaire backers.
No, it would be good to model it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we haven't got the backers they've got. I mean, we suspect that they've probably got financial backing from the Conservatives. We can't prove it.
No, that's
general consensus. That's what we all think, and therefore it's a bottomless pit. So at the moment we can't afford that, but I'm sure that when the eyes start opening, it'll be a case of it won't take money, just common sense.
But we did come third, and that's a brilliant start for the British National Party.
It is.
Moving on to the north east and Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
I came down with you to various Hustings meetings in the north east.
Yeah.
Now, we'll cover the first Hustings meeting that we had at the Cleveland Shopping Centre first.
Yeah.
Now, yourself, as a candidate, you didn't exactly get an invite to that, did you?
No. It seems to be a common theme running through the by-election that basically I was taboo everywhere I went. But I'm quite used to it. Being a member of the BNP, you do get the occasional people that are ultra left wing and just go absolutely mental when you mention the British National Party. That's probably because they're not well. Anyway, we got there, as you know, and there was 4 chairs, 4 stools, and
4 candidates.
4 candidates. I was late. Fair dues. I was late. But what they were doing was inviting members of the public to come along and sit down, be filmed asking a question, and then the filming would stop, they would go away. So there was plenty of time to stick another chair in and say, Mr. Foreman has just joined us, blah, 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 and continue. But they would not move. They said, nope.
We did ask.
We asked, you begged. and I said, Chris, it's not going to work. And I was right, it didn't work, because it was their opportunity to exclude us. If we'd have got there on time, they would have been absolutely mortified. But they must have been rubbing their hands together when we got there late. We couldn't avoid that because there was problems on the road. So it worked to their advantage that time.
Going back to that, for the viewers that are not quite sure which Hustings we're talking about, this was one that we never got on camera. Now, we was told by one of our ex-organisers who's got back on board recently through this Middlesbrough by-election.
Yeah.
We was told by our ex-organiser that in one of the local papers, I mean, bear in mind that most nationalists don't buy the local rag, but he found in his local paper, on page maybe 1732, a small caption, 2 inch by 3 inch, with about 2 sentences on, giving the details of this Hustings meeting.
Yep.
Now, when we arrived at the shopping centre, it was all set up. They had a very professional crew of cameras there, lighting, as I say, the 4 chairs and the 4 candidates that was organised there.
Yep.
Now, nobody can tell me that the other candidates did not get an invite. You wouldn't put a small caption in a paper, spend all that money advertising on, on the cameras, on the paying for the shopping centre, for the facilities,
and just hope.
And then hope that 4 candidates turn up.
Quite so.
They'd had an invite, and obviously we hadn't.
Yeah.
And yes, we did. It wasn't that late. Was it? We arrived a few minutes late, but the chairs was already sorted out, and we wasn't allowed to go on them.
Well, the Biased Broadcasting Corporation invited 4 people.
Yes.
And I wasn't one of them.
But you did get you did get 1 minute on the radio as a.
Yes, I got some time on the radio. In fact, I got altogether. I think I got about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And I did actually get across some points. I also got some time on Look North, and I got some time on the politics show Sunday morning. Obviously, you'd only pick that up if you're viewing in the northeast.
Yeah.
And I think I got across some fairly relevant points of view and ideas, and hopefully that went across quite well. I mean, just by looking at the votes, with doing no canvassing at all, it did have a small impact. So it wasn't a waste of time.
No. Moving on to the second hustings. This was the for those who watch the BNP TV. The second hustings was the one we went down to in Middlesbrough at the church, run by the shall we say Friends of the Earth? Not really Friends of the Earth, are they? And Mr. Bob Tucker from Friends of the Earth. Now he organised this. He put it in the local gazette. He put it in the local gazette. The local gazette printed that all 8 candidates were to be invited.
Correct. Yep.
We went down with a small team. We went in. A couple of us went into the foyer, and then you came along, and we had the camera rolling as you was getting in. Now the reason why we did this is because of our first hustings meeting, when we never got the film footage. If we'd have had the film footage, people could have seen what democracy is in the North East, which is non-existent. And that's why we brought the cameras into the second hustings. Now, the first lady we started speaking to from the Friends of the Earth, she wanted to pass the book on to this Mr. Tucker.
Yeah.
And now Mr. Tucker, he quoted that it wasn't in the policy of the Friends of the Earth or the policy of the Church of England for the British National Party to be allowed to have a democratic say in a hustings meeting.
Now you've got to bear in mind that they actually published online that they would like people to come to the hustings so they could witness democracy in action. And as soon as I walked in there, that was torn up, thrown out the window, and eventually Mr. Tucker found the nerve to come over and speak to us, as you know, and it became apparent very, very quickly that Mr. Tucker actually standing upright was a miracle due to a complete absence of a spine. He would not talk to us. He said, I'm not going to stand here and debate this with you. And I said to him, well, you can't debate this because you have said this is democracy in action. So there is no debate here, it's democracy. And he walked off, wouldn't talk to us. And of course you managed to get into the room and you managed to get your points of view over, and they removed you forcibly. Now let me tell you all, my friend Chris, he's a victim of an industrial accident to which he lost a leg. And they saw fit to remove him, we'll say forcibly, he wouldn't tolerate too much force, believe me, but they did forcibly remove him. And there were people in the audience there, and there were people on the podium objecting to the way he was treated, and indeed to the way I was treated. But still, they persisted with this no platform for the BNP. So, really, we achieved a lot people may say, oh, you weren't allowed in. But we did achieve a lot, because a lot of people have seen what people like the Friends of the Earth, who are basically stooges for the Labour Party. That's all they are. I mean, they're not friends of anybody. They're just a bunch of lefties who want to stick their oar in, and they haven't got decent jobs, so they just mooch around the country making trouble for people who want to make the country a decent place to live.
I'll come back to you in a minute with that one, because you know, I've come across Friends of the Earth in a professional capacity. When I went into the Hustings meeting, the question that I wanted to ask was, if the Friends of the Earth, bear in mind they shouldn't be allowed to organise an Hustings meeting without bringing all parties into that Hustings meeting.
Right, yeah.
Shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. But if the Friends of the Earth were organising a Hustings meeting and said we'll not have the British National Party in because of their immigration policies and race policies. Now, the British National Party, as far as I know, have had no councillors, and certainly no MEPs, found guilty in a court of law for racism. However, there was people on that podium from the Labour Party and from the Peace Party being a Muslim party, which is quite ironic, the Peace Party and the Labour Party on that podium. Now, the Labour Party have had, with just a quick browse through the internet, 41 councillors and members of Parliament found guilty in a court of law for child sex offences. 41 paedophiles, systematic paedophilia in the Labour Party. But I won't even go on the systematic theft of the Labour Party as regards to how many MPs are actually serving prison sentences at the moment for stealing from the British public. But 41 paedophiles, that's systematic paedophilia within the Labour Party, yet Mr Tucker, who probably likes that kind of thing, he supports it, he certainly supports it. When I put that across to them before the camera, before I got thrown out, nothing was done. They agreed. They attacked me. Oh, you must be a fascist. You must be a racist for saying that. For bringing up paedophilia within the Labour Party. I'm a racist. Well, not only that, the Peace Party was allowed to go into that meeting. Now the Peace Party burn churches down, kill Christians all over the place.
Yeah.
But
well, not the Peace Party. We can't say the Peace Party.
No, the Peace Party are an Islamic party.
Yeah, the people they represent.
They're an Islamic party.
Yeah.
We're the British National Party, and they're saying that we're all racist because we're in the British National Party.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the same thing. The Peace Party are an Islamic party. Islam, not a peaceful party. 99.9% of all terrorism acts are caused by Muslims.
That's true.
Muslims are racially raping our children on a systematic scale in our country, but they're allowed to go on that podium.
So what you're saying to me is the people that they want in that church for the hustings are paedophiles, killers and rapists.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Who support or from those groups.
The people on that podium, or certain members of the people on that podium, do not have a problem with associating with some of the lowest forms of life in humanity, and it is true. And they have the nerve, the audacity to say they will not share a podium with people whose only interest in politics is to preserve this country's culture and its people.
It should be us who's saying we shouldn't be sharing a podium with them.
It should be us.
It should be us who was organising the Hustings meeting and saying,
us.
no, hang on a minute, I'm sorry, but we can't have the Peace Party and we can't have the Labour Party.
But would you do it?
No, because I believe in democracy.
There you go.
And I want to let people see.
We believe in democracy, and we believe in letting the truth out. Once the truth is out, if we were running that show, the truth would be out, and those people wouldn't get a look in because the people would be informed of what's going on. That is where it's all going wrong. We cannot out the truth because we are being stopped by a very powerful mechanism. The BBC for one.
Politically motivated
Of
media.
course, of course.
They've got everything behind them, and they want to keep that all in the shadows. Not let the British people see what's going on, hear what's going on, and that's how they do it. They keep us from the Hustings meetings.
Yep.
Now, just to go back to the Friends of the Earth, so-called Friends of the Earth, what I was telling you about earlier, the Friends of the Earth actually put the block on a hell of a lot of jobs in the North East. I was asked by the Able UK's directors if I would come on board and dismantle the famous American glow ships for them.
Well, all on your own?
Well, with a gang. We're going to employ. We've been promised we'd be employing 200 men. 200 men from the local area.
That's a big chunk of employment.
Not only that, you imagine what the economy would have been. It would have been bringing taxi drivers, it would have been bringing chip shops, people spend the wages.
There's plenty of knock-on effects.
A little town like Hartlepool, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
We was going to employ at least 200 men to foresee that contract. We had 3 ghost ships in. I was on national news saying how we was going to do them. We had systems in place, we had systems to work, we had method statements, we had risk assessments all set up in place. We dealt with the HSE on a regular basis anyway. We had asbestos stripping firm within the company. Everything would have been done perfectly.
So you're a highly professional organisation that
98%.
specialises in dismantling heavy industrial equipment.
98% of those ships would have been recycled.
Yeah.
Now, the Friends of the Earth found out about it, stopped the job. 5 years they put a block on that job. Within the 113 ships that we would have had, that we could have had, easily have had, was lost. Now, the Friends of the Earth would have sooner seen these ships go to places like India where they was going and being sold and beached. These ships were being beached. We know that the workers was having no health and safety clothing whatsoever, no personal protective clothing whatsoever. There wasn't wearing any respiratory gear for the asbestos or for the cutting in the lead. There was cutting in bare feet. The fatalities on a daily basis, all the asbestos, all the diesels, everything thrown into the sea. They're supposed to be friends of the earth. They're not friends of the earth. They're friends of stopping jobs in Hartlepool because they haven't got a job to do themselves, and so they're not friends of the earth.
They're just
people like Rob Tucker who are preaching that the Church of England doesn't want us there. We're all Christians, my friend. You know,
it boils down to Rob Tucker as a spiteful little Marxist, and there's no other way of looking at it. That's what he is.
That's all he is. He's a part of Unite Against Fascism, which is another thing. Unite Our Fascism. He's probably a member of those.
Well, you'll be happy to know that as of tonight, I think it's roughly 3,500 hits on YouTube for our little video at the Hustings.
Good.
Yeah. So those 3,500 people are going to see that. And they're not going to keep it to themselves.
No.
And I can see people making comments on there about that they give to Friends of the Earth, and as from today, they won't. And there's something else, this peace party. It's the 5th of December today, Wednesday, and I'd just like to inform everybody that's watching this that I've just heard on the news that a 7-year-old lad, a child of 7, yesterday, I think, looked his mother in the eye while she was beaten him to death because he couldn't memorise pages of the Quran. Peace.
Well, the peace party whilst we was watching the votes, we had quite a bit of a chuckle to ourselves, didn't we? Because the peace party on the table that we was watching must have been a very ethnic area because their power was getting higher and higher compared to Labour's, and we was thinking,
hello.
Hang on a minute, Labour's going to be a little bit upset. We've let 3.7 million people into this country, plus all their families, and now we've only let them in to vote for us, and now they're bringing their own candidates in and vote. They're taking our vote away. They must be worried about looking at something like that, thinking, what have we done?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what's happening.
Well,
We knew that when you allow that many people in, and they ghettoise, and then they organise, and they start to think to themselves, hang on, there's enough of us. We can run this show on our own. And believe you me,
sheer law.
it's weight of numbers,
Yes.
and they are outbreeding us 3 to 1. And there will be a time, and that time is not far away, and I think it's in our lifetime, touch wood, I'll grow to be an old man, that we will see Islamic parties being voted in and taking over whole towns, and then cities.
That's true, because I saw a piece on a YouTube about a Labour councillor saying that we had 4 Muslim MPs, then we had 20 Muslim MPs, and he said before long we will have a Muslim Prime Minister, and that was he said, and he was bragging how much money that he gives to he's managed to give to Pakistan and to Islamic countries, and they're not interested.
Well, that scared the bejeebus out of the Labour Party because they got rid of him.
Well,
because he outed the truth straight away like that.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't have told the truth straight away. He should have told a bit of Taqiyya, shouldn't he?
Yeah, Taqiyya. Yeah. See, he's not reading his Quran, is he?
He's not there, is he? Right. To conclude on this, Pete, I think what we have done, we have shown the people of Middlesbrough that the British National Party are still around.
Yep.
And we're still here, and we're still here for them. A good point is, we're a couple of our organisers get in touch. One's coming to the Christmas party.
Yep.
One helped us with the campaign.
Yep.
We've come back on board, so we've got that through it as well, haven't we? And that's basically it, really. We've just shown we've shown through our videos and shown through this tonight, telling the people, what we went through, and through the video of actually what we did go through. That democracy isn't always democracy.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to get Labour out of these places is to come out and vote for us. We need you to get active. We need you to get back on board. There's a lot of people who are ex-members who are thinking, oh, well, I've burnt my bridges, sort of thing. You haven't burnt. There's a lot of people who hasn't burnt the bridges. Come back on board. Come back and give us an hand. I think it was Tyndall who once said that the activist lifespan is around 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, people do burn out. We all get tired. We all do need a break. But if we're in waiting numbers, we can take that little bit of pressure off each other and share the workload out.
Yeah.
We do need you all back. And I'd like you to, I'd like anybody to pick up the phone and give us a bell back and come back to our meetings. Our meetings up here in South Tyneside are getting bigger and bigger. We've got branches throughout the North East popping up and cropping up and starting up again.
Yeah.
And like I say, through this exercise in Borough, we may not have won it, but we start to get people back from Borough, and that's a good thing. So I'd like to conclude it there.
I'd like to say before...
Thanks for representing us, Peter. I think you did a brilliant job.
It was my pleasure, believe me, it was my pleasure. What I'd like to say to everybody watching this is do not believe the propaganda that we're finished or we're weak. We are a political party that is now operating in the black. Okay? We have money in the bank. We are not going anywhere. We are getting stronger. There's more of us. And believe you me, your country needs you.